hello BookTube and hello AuthorTube because we're coming up on a writing event. April is right around the corner, and April is the month for one of the spin-off events of NaNoWriMo. National Novel Writing Month takes place every year in November when all of us, for reasons passing understanding, sign up voluntarily for the task of writing the 50,000 word first draft of a novel in the month of November, 1,667 words a day. NaNoWriMo is a huge amount of fun, but it's also a huge amount of effort. It's a big commitment, and it has more or less informal rules. The main rule, the number one ideological, spiritual rule of NaNoWriMo is to get you to write. Instead of dreaming about writing, or thinking about writing, or postponing writing, is to get you to write. And because there's that merciless word count every day, you pretty much have to silence your inner critic. You pretty much have to learn an essential skill for any writer, whether you have pretensions of publication or not, which is to learn how to write without editing while you write. Get rid of the drag and just produce material, just generate material. NaNoWriMo, that is the spiritual heft of the whole thing. But there are rules that, you know, most people that do NaNoWriMo feel it behooves them to follow. You are to write a novel, for instance, not any other kind of work. And you're to meet that merciless word count every day in order to reach 50,000 words. And it should also be a new work, rather than you polishing up a draft of something. Now, there are plenty of NaNoWriMo rebels who ignore all of those rules. It doesn't diminish the fun at all. But nevertheless, that is, to truly get into the spirit of NaNoWriMo, you want to do the whole thing like that. Whereas the NaNoWriMo folks have spun off two smaller events, Camp NaNoWriMo in April and Camp NaNoWriMo in July. And these events don't have those kinds of rules. You can set your own word count. For instance, you can set your own goal. It's not 50,000 words anymore. It's whatever you want it to be. It can be any kind of project. Polishing an old project, working on fan fiction or nonfiction or a script, anything at all. They're less formal. They're more to keep you in the mind frame of writing in between the long intervals between NaNoWriMo, and I love them. I absolutely love them. I love the whole communal aspect of NaNoWriMo just in general, whether it's the main event or the two Camp NaNoWriMos. I love the whole communal aspect of it. I think it's helped so many people to de-intimidate themselves, to demystify the process of writing and just realize that so many other people want to do this too. That really helps. I mean, writing is a solitary thing, more so now than ever. In pre-pandemic days during NaNoWriMo, there would always be some sort of in-person drop-in where you could go with a pillow or your pajamas or your favorite snacks and write in the company of other people. I don't think those happen anymore. I don't see them happening at all in the future. But even without them, NaNoWriMo gave you the very tangible sense that there are other people out there writing. And that felt great. It still feels great. I love it. But I also love the spirit of Camp NaNoWriMo. I'll take any of it. If NaNoWriMo did a spin-off event every month, I would probably do it. And I wanted to use this video to announce what I'm going to be doing and to ask if you're going to do Camp NaNoWriMo this year. And if you are, what are you thinking about doing? I'm not 100% clear what the mechanisms of Camp NaNoWriMo are. I know once upon a time you had to join a sort of a tent or a pod or a group of some kind. I don't think you have to do that anymore. I think you just go on the site and sign up for yourself for Camp NaNoWriMo. But I would love to you know, be writing buddies with any of you that want to. And I want to tell you a little bit about what I have decided on for my project this time. For April's Camp NaNoWriMo, it's going to be a shorter thing because I am pretty much buried. We're talking Kentucky coal mine collapse buried with writing stuff to do. I'm pretty much buried with it. And I don't foresee that changing, and I'm completely happy about that fact. But nevertheless, it means that planning something huge would probably just be a recipe for it failing. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I have a small idea that I sort of want to test out. In like the sketch of a short story, and if I like it, if it works, if it feels right, then maybe I will write a much bigger separate installment of this thing for NaNoWriMo itself. Maybe I'll try it out in April and then try it out again in July. But the working title for it is The Voyage of the Argo. But it is not, as some of you might expect. Some of you have been, in my real life, have been requesting this writing project for well over 10 years. A long time ago, I wrote novelizations of the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the adventures of Odysseus's teen dream son Telemachus, Troy War, Steve Donoghue's Ulysses, and the Telemachiad. And I had a blast doing that. And the people who read those books really enjoyed them, really thought they were a sleigh ride. And I've often asked, why don't I do that with other stuff? Why don't, since you obviously seem to like doing this, and since we like reading it, how about you novelize something else? And one of the natural candidates was The Voyage of the Argo, Jason and the Argonauts. But this is not that. This is not that. The Argo in this story is a fictionalized late 19th century, early 20th century Boston newspaper, very much patterned after the dear old Boston Evening Transcript, which was a home for crackpots and eccentrics and also some blindingly talented people, and that spun off a lot of those blindingly talented people to do other things. It's amazing. I mean, a lot of newspapers, of city and county newspapers, can claim the same thing if you dig deep enough, but it's amazing how much talent you would know by name went through the newsroom of the Boston Evening Transcript. So I thought, since I praised it so many times and I know so much about it, why not try to capture a bit of that in a story? So that's what I'm going to do, and see if I can make the moving parts work. See if it answers a need in me to write about that, because I won't just be dramatizing the Boston Evening Transcript. I'll also, of course, be pulling in lots and lots of the sentiment, if not explicit stories, about all the newsrooms that I've worked in. I thought it was about time I tried to do that. So I'm gonna try that for April. And The Voyage of the Argo is the title implies kind of a bit of the plot of this story, which is a move on the part of the Argo's owners to maybe move it out of Boston. And of course, that is a dastardly plan. That is a terrible plan, and all the people at the Argo don't want it to happen, except for the corporate bean crunchers that nobody likes. So the sort of conflict in the story will be, is it possible for our bedraggled heroes and heroines to not only keep producing a newspaper and doing their jobs, but also somehow thwart this move and keep the Argo in Boston? It'll give me a chance to write about the feel of the newsroom. It'll give me a chance to craft a few, hopefully standout, enjoyable characters. And it'll also give me a chance to write about the Boston at the turn of the 20th century, which is a period I know really well and would love to convey to readers. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to try for Camp NaNoWriMo in April, The Voyage of the Argo. And I want to hear all your plans. If you're making them, what are you planning on doing for Camp NaNoWriMo? Are you going to join this year in April? Keep in mind, even though April is, I think, tomorrow, it's not too late. This would probably be a little too late for NaNoWriMo itself, although I have junked plans at the last minute for NaNoWriMo, started over, and still managed to finish at 50,000 words. But with Camp NaNoWriMo, it's not too late, because you're setting your own word count. So if you're just now hearing about it, or you're just now thinking you might want to do it, you can skip the first day and devote that to researching, plotting, and laying things, scheming and plotting and whatnot, and just start on day 2. That's almost always fatal to do with NaNoWriMo itself. You can't skip a day. I know NaNoWriMo savants on YouTube always say feel free to, but you can't get behind. That word count is not your friend. It's just going to crush you if you get behind. But with Camp NaNoWriMo, you could miss a day and just adjust your dream count of your end word count accordingly. For instance, for The Voyage of the Argo, I'm shooting for 20,000 words. That's not that hard. So that's what I'm going to do. And I would love to hear what you're going to do. So feel free to tell me. And I'm going to, sometime today, if I can find the time, once again, Kentucky coal mine collapse kinds of writing obligations all day long. But if I can find time to natter on to you in a video, I can probably find time to go to NaNoWriMo's website and update my project. I'm going to try to do that. And this will be sort of a foray to see if I maybe want to invest more time in creating this fictional world in order to write a full-dress novel set in that world. So it's not cheating, because the novel, if that does feel right, and I do like this feeling of inhabiting this world and creating these things, what I do for NaNoWriMo, if NaNoWriMo grows out of this little treatment, this little 20,000 word treatment, what I do in November will be completely different. It'll have precedence, but it'll be a completely solid, self-contained work on its own. So there you go. That's my project. Let me hear about yours, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.